This is quite unusual circumstances for me, as you probably know me from streaming F1 on PC only. But today times have changed, and I'll be commentating only once, but still I will commentate PC F4 tier. As well, these boys actually deserve a stream. And I'm going to be here. One shot only, but I will. My name is Wojciech Śmigowski. I am the owner of European Racing Organization and PCF1 commentator. For once, I'm here on PCF4. Also, when you ask me about being owner of the league, it's forever. Just in case anyone watches. Anyway, it's time to hop into the action of PCF4. Theoretically, the lowest tier of the entire PC. Practically, it's like kind of unique atmosphere where just drivers love racing. And here we are, looking if there's any issues, and there is issues. I definitely see more and more issues with the standings. As you can see, we were meant to have F1 TV POV, but I think a couple of drivers do like having penalty points, and it's definitely ones for Morten Schulze, who's decided to become Tony Ritchie. And same applies for likes of Hauke Melling, who's decided to be a 69. Well, for this one race, it's fine. As drivers, well, this is karma. This already is a karma for Morten Schulze, who's crashed out at the very beginning of the qualifying. Karol Konopa can't get started. I'm also watching this as a test of crossplay, but we'll see if this one works. Also, we need to correct a little bit. As you can see, Richard has decided to become Schulze has decided to become Rich, and now Quil Pawlakovic is 69 for him. And that is going to be Hauke Melling, who's meant to be, I'm looking for a number, 49, and he's picked 69. And that is great. Also, we've got Rodrigo Martins pretending to be Yanni Ducrot. And these are the three issues we needed to solve now. But apart from that, ignore the empties and driver number 24. Everything should be alright. We are here for racing in Canada at the Canadian Grand Prix with a very interesting situation when it comes to the championship of drivers. Benny Besic leads it with 125 points on the board, and Hauke Melling is second with 109. But there is 6 to 7 drivers that may be involved in the championship fight, because we've also got Kamil Błaszczyszyn, 97, Claudio Herbert and Raymond Gertzpa, 95 each, Rafael Ferraz, 86, and Paul Palacios, 74. Then we've also got David Booker having 50, Benjamin Woodford having 49, and Samuel Travelov having 48. And this is the championship situation for those wondering how it is in PCF4, because I normally don't look here to commentate. I look forward to commentating this one, but I'm not the one who commentates it usually. So a quick rewind. Giles will definitely keep having these sessions, I swear. It's the Red Bulls and a Haas of Hauke Melling that are not having the greatest day when it comes to connecting to the session. as we are also reported to have a wet race around here. As looking for drivers who have already set a lap time, there are only 3 of them. Benny Besic, who's on provisional pole with 1:11.6. Then we've got Paul Palacios, who's been determined to win today. We'll see if it becomes true. It's a possibility though. Paul Palacios gets second currently, 1.5 tenths off. And then we've got Kamil Błaszczyn on the third, losing 3 tenths. Apparently, there's Karol Konopa, still stuck. And I don't know what's going on here. We'll definitely call a relobby after the qualifying, unless it fixes itself magically. But well, Karol is just staying on track, just like that. And everyone tells me not to use crossplay in Season 9. Well, I've got the reason. We'll still try though, I think. I've got this emergency plan that if on the first 2 rounds it will fail massively, if it will fails massively, like not in the 1 session but like 16 sessions, we'll do week of break, and then we'll switch to platforms. Maybe with a one tier being crossplay, just to check if it finally comes back to work. As we've got Raymond Gertzma currently outlapping, looking for someone who is the closest to reach the line. As one of the McLarens, I believe that's Rodrigo Martins, but he's invalidated. Maybe in Alpine of Klappa, he's also invalidated. Woodford and Reiner are also on track. And the one ahead is Benjamin Woodford, who is now going to cross the line carefully through Wall of Champions, the last chicane. And we'll see what the lap time is. It's going to be a 17.4, so he's definitely going for another run, as Karen Reiner has crashed out on the Wall of Champions. His teammate is not having the best day. As Tomasz Brona is successfully back into the lobby. And he's about to not even start a lap if he keeps doing so. But there is a Haas behind him, that's believe Benny Besic, current pole sitter. How Kamelnik is back on track as well, as you can see. As the AlphaTauri has officially gone. Now the 2 Haas is leading currently the Drivers' Championship, but it's not that quite sure if they will lead after this race. As if Hauke is very unlucky, he may even drop to like 5th place, or even 6th today, from 2nd. The fight for the championship here is actually pretty interesting though, looking at the point standings and how different the race winners are, because there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different race winners in 10 races. The most wins of course belong to Benny Besic, who's got 3 of them. Then we've got Hauke Melink with 2 and Claudio Herbert with 2 as well. 1 victory belongs to Kamil Błaszczyn, Raymond Gertzma and Paul Palacios, who's also looking forward to today's race. We'll probably have a restart for after the qualifying session, as this issue of Karol Konopa is not going to fix itself, I'm afraid. Rodrigo Martins, for whatever reason, has tried to lap on medium tires and he's gone 13.4 comparing to Benny Besic, who's got 11.0. The Red Bull of Konopa is still stuck there. I actually don't understand. And before anyone calls me and you want the crossplay in Season 9, I'm just saying that this issue can happen without crossplay too. We've seen more red flags in PCF3 due to safety cars than in PCF4. And PCF3 has no crossplay. Same applies for PCF2. As far as goes 7th, 12.7. Now Rasmussen is out of the session. Benny Besic goes to the pits. Meanwhile, the Mercedes behind him. That is going to be Claudio Herbert, who's also going to the pits. Looking for more drivers on the laps. Vrona is also going to the pits, but he's got the 4th time of this qualifying session. Next up on the lap, looking for drivers, it's definitely Hauke Melling. Karen Reiner will not do a lap today, as he has crashed out of Wall of Champions, and Morten Schutzer has crashed out on the out lap. As we've got the Haas of Melling crossing the line to start the lap. Just saying, completely honesty, I will not be going crazy as always in the PCF1 streams. Well, this is kind of a fine session to watch. The PCF4 drivers, the actual pinnacle of league racing. For one reason apparently, and they are not like going to tell everyone that they are the fastest, they're having like, they are so competitive and stuff. They just enjoy racing, and actually this is what I love about the lower tiers in Ero, where drivers mainly because it doesn't apply to everyone, but mainly are just enjoying the virtual racing in F122. And that is what we love to see, because it also creates fine friendships. As we've also got an unreported absence of Matthew Curtis today. I don't know what's going on, but it's the second one for him. As I've also missed that bit, but Hauke Melling is trying to reverse to the pit lane. Yeah, he's actually trying to reverse to the pit lane after bottling it in Wall of Champions, and this is what I said. But I am afraid, Hauke, that you're going to get disqualified. Or you're trying to do donuts, I don't even understand you. Let's see, because I believe he might be disqualified at any point of this session. Like, quite within a few seconds, he's probably damaged his rear wing and wasted more time during this than he would when trying to come into the pits the traditional way. Okay, he's coming for whatever reason. Somehow he's in the pits, so this is what I meant when I said about PCF4 and just enjoying racing. Papalas is in the pits, meanwhile Rodrigo Martins is going to start the lap. But that was interesting tactics from Hauke Melling to get into the pits. I still think he lost more time during that rather than he would going for a normal lap. Rodrigo Martins goes through Ghost of Karol Knopa safely. That's a yellow flag caused by another Red Bull in Sector 2. Who's just been letting past Rodrigo, who's quite on a decent run considering PCF4. You know, he could have gone through this corner way faster. He's not going to improve himself now, as he's just half a second behind. But we'll see how it will go through the Sector 3. Rodrigo Martins actually... Wait a second. Jakub Klapa has gone for a 10.7 and is now provisional pole, but remember Besic is still in the pits. He can go for a better run as Martins is in the pit lane. as Martins is on the 10th place. Might be going for one more run. Not like Claudio Herbert, who spun round in Sector 2. The famous corner known for Sebastian Vettel, for example, going wide on the final lap of 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, which has given Jenson Button the win. After pitting 6 times, being classed, having a drive-through penalty. And after all of that, he still won. Looking for drivers on laps, we definitely consider Benny Besic, but he's on the out lap, so we're looking for an Alpine of Klappa, who's just ahead of a Mercedes, going to the pits. The Mercedes is going to be Rasmussen, who's just starting a lap, very carefully though. Benjamin Woodford has invited, but will go for one more run. As Pau Palacios is going slowly for whatever reason. David Booker currently 5th. Going out of turn 11, the famous hairpin, where you can actually go for a decent amount of dives. I've also seen an Aston Martin of Bosch letting past the others. We'll see if Booker will finish the lap. Yes, he's going to. Quite decent exit out of Wall of Champions, but he's not going to improve. It's going to be 13.4, so no improvement from him. As this session draws to a close, slowly but surely. Martins is not on the lap, but Rafael Ferraz will start his final run now. He's got a Haas of Malink behind him, because Besic will not finish the session, will not make any more runs. He's in the pits, he's retired. He's not going to be anywhere higher than 7th. Palacios has gone to 3rd, Woodford to 6th. Ferraz goes very well through this complex of corners. He's one of the few no-assist drivers in the tier. Meanwhile, Hauke Melling right behind him probably cut the corner and got invited. But we're looking at the McLaren of Ferraz, who's half a second before faster than his lap, which places him currently around P7, maybe P6, if he goes through a Sector 3 very well indeed. And we'll see if Ferraz can complete the lap. Vrona is not going to do any more laps after finishing 4th. As Rafael Ferraz crosses the line to take 11.8, and he's done even better than I expected. He's 5th at the end of the qualifying. Drivers who did not make the laps are Schulze, Konopa, Rasmussen, Melling and Reiner. This is quite a huge group. The ones who did are Jakub Klappa, Benny Besic, Pau Palacios, Tomasz Vrona, Rafael Ferraz, Kamil Boszczyszyn, David Booker, Benjamin Woodford, Raymond Gertzma, Claudio Herbert and Rodrigo Martins. This is also the order because we've never seen grid penalties. We are also going to see Matthew Curtis joining on the last possible moment. And he's probably going to be the car number 24. As that's it for today in qualifying. As this is the end of the qualifying and we'll indeed have a lobby restart. This is also the end of today's qualifying. You can see Rodrigo Martins has actually gone for a lap on medium tires, and the race was predicted to be wet, so we'll ask drivers for weather conditions, but the lobby is going to be restarted after qualifying. as you can hear that I've been doing screenshots. But yeah, drivers are saying this was the worst qualifying session ever already because of Karol Konopa and his internet connection, as it's indeed wet. It's very wet. As everyone is already leaving the session. You can see how many drivers are just preparing themselves for a lobby restart. I'll go quiet in these couple of moments so we can focus on resetting this lobby and going back to the action after the race starts. I watched the lights out and away we go though, as Benny Besic tries to join us as well. I don't know for what reason. I see if anyone stays in the lobby though. No, everyone has already left. So this will be a maintenance screen now. As I'm also going to leave this and wait. Yep, here we are with maintenance. A place for little talks. Small talk it is called. Also my very uncomfortable temporary headphones. Quite actually. As, yeah. We'll be back in around 10 minutes. So after a little bit of setting up, we are here to start the Canadian Grand Prix. And this PC F4 tier, we are now ready to not ready because someone has left the session. And that is Karol Konopa, of course. Also, the PS F4 stream is starting soon. We're waiting for Konopa to pick the car. And then we'll be ready to start. As we should finally be able to go. With 17 drivers on the grid, as Matthew Curtis joined us on the last moment, thankfully. Not everyone has probably seen that the lobby is on. And we'll be starting Canadian Grand Prix in PC F4 very soon. This is like a test stream for me, or like a fun stream. Okay, the chill one as well. All between the... before the PC F1 that we'll see on Sunday 4 PM UK. But for now it's PC F4. It's what we like. 17 drivers on the grid. That's what we like too. As we've got a race about to start, so we'll see. Drivers are picking up the tires. The weather is going to be indeed wet. It's going to be full wet conditions at the start of the Grand Prix. It should dry up later on, but it will be actual heavy rain. After it's all during the later phases of the race. As I'm going to tell people that I'm commentating on PC F4. As Bjorn Rasmussen is the only one. Yep, we should be going now. We've got indeed full wet conditions. And we are going to see drivers trying to capitalize on them. I don't know who is the fastest wet weather driver in this grid. But I believe there might be some strong options, some quick options on the grid. We'll see if everyone survives the start first, because this Canadian Grand Prix is definitely going to be one that will be remembered, especially when it's rainy, because rainy Canada means action, and action is what people like. We've got less than 10 seconds to go. Everyone is on full wet tires. There's no need to check the strategy. 3, 2, 1, and the lobby should be going. As it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. In the Canadian Grand Prix, it's lights out and away we go. Jakub Klappa gets a very good start. There's a couple of drivers trying to just survive it on these full wet conditions, but Klappa takes the lead very peacefully. On the second place, we've got Paul Palacios. Tomasz Rona tries to get into third place, but he goes very wide indeed and has to drop for the 4th place. There's carnage at the background, as we've got 4 wide initially at the moment, for a moment. But apart from that, it looks calm, surprisingly. As everyone just tries to survive. The beginning of the race, you can see Jakub Klappa nearly spinning round at the beginning of the race, but he safely leads away from the rest of the field. Paul Palacios has to fight Benny Besic for the 2nd place. Paul declares himself as the one who will try to dethrone Benny from the 1st place in the championship. And we'll see if this will be a thing, because Paul Palacios is now under pressure from the Haas driver himself. And is he going to go for a move down the inside? Yes, he is on lap 1 of this race. Benny Besic takes the 2nd place. There was a little bit of a contact, but I don't think Benny is at any point in fault. Very, very good overtake from on the inside, but Paul Palacios will fight this one back. You can see how close they are to each other. I'm afraid this might not end well, but we'll see if Paul Palacios will go to the right side. Same applies for Frona, who's going for a gap for 3rd, but backs out of it. It all helps Jakub Klappa, who's just leading the race very, very peacefully on this 1st lap. As there is one of the McLarens at Martins hitting the wall. Frona is definitely now ahead of Palacios, who's also under pressure from David Booker. We've got 2 drivers in the pit lane. These are Benjamin Woodford and Karol Konopa. As we've also got a spin. And that is Raymond Gertzma, who spun round. Who has come back on track though, without wing damage. But it's not a dream scenario for the Williams driver. Not gonna lie, this wet weather conditions, this full rain looked amazing on some of the camera shots. As Martins now fights Reiner, the Xbox driver, who's gone for 8th place. Martins also will lose place to Błaszczyszyn now. And I think Herbert might be close too. Not close enough for a move, but he definitely got closer. Bjorn Rasmussen. Oh, there's a contact between Herbert and Martins into turn 10. I hope there was no damage apart from that. Matthew Curtis goes ahead of Bjorn Rasmussen. I believe Matthew has also wing damage. Aston Martin of Morten Schulze is spinning around, as Matthew is definitely now going to the pits. He's got the wing damage, so I assume he is going into the pit lane. No, he surprised us. He's going to stay out on track, even though he's missing a right end plate, which definitely isn't helping him. Now Rasmussen can fight back in this one, but he decides to back out. Jakub Klappa already leading by 4 seconds in this Grand Prix, or at least 2 seconds. The delta times sometimes are not the most consistent, but we get the general overview, and it's around 3 seconds. And that is also a virtual safety car. I don't know what's the reason for it. We're looking for. There is no front wing in one of the cars, I believe. And why do I think it's for Karen? Yes. Reiner has got no front wing. He will go to the pit lane, and then he's going to attack. Maybe on the inner tires. I don't think it's time for them. It's going to be long laps for some of the drivers in these conditions. I think this is also an opportunity to pit for Matthew Curtis. If the virtual safety car stays out for long enough, Morten Schulze gets a drive-through penalty for spinning under VSC. The VSC is also over, so we're back to racing action. Also, Hakemeling has got the first of probably many penalties today, and he's done it in the favorite place to get the penalty, which is Wall of Champions. As Morten Schulze is also getting 5-second time for spinning in the pit lane. I believe that might be it for today. Still going though, ahead of Curtis. As there's a spin, there's a crash also of David Booker. And this is what I meant saying about tricky conditions here in Canada. And this one definitely applied for Booker and Vrona as well, who's got no front wing. Karen Reiner for whatever reason, decides to stay out despite the damage he has. That's enough of a surprise for me. As Ferraz also has a moment, and that will allow Reiner to get past the McLaren into 7th place. That's very interesting from him. Jakub Kloppa goes for another fastest lap. We'll see if Benny Besic can get at least close. How Kamelnik with damage from Twink. Benny Besic is losing over 3 seconds now. He did not improve Kloppa's lap time. Curtis has gone for Intertest, so let's see if he can manage them decently. He's going to the neutral gear. Vrona is also going for into the pit lane, but I believe this will be for a wing change rather than into tires. But we'll see what kind of compound he's gone for. He's gone for wet. As you can see, Marty Curtis is losing over a second in a single corner, so that doesn't really pay off the gamble. We're more interested in watching Washington versus Ferraz for the 7th. Remember, there's a couple of drivers involved in the championship fight, not only Benny Besic and Hauke Melling, the two Hases who are leading the constructors and the drivers' championship as well. We're also talking about more drivers who are involved, because you know, Melling, who's second, got 109 points. Besic has got 125, but Błaszczyszyn has got 97. And Ferraz has got 86, so Ferraz, if he can keep Błaszczyszyn behind, at least it's helping his situation in the championship, as he can get closer to the fight for the 3rd place at least. We'll see if Ferraz... Oh, that's a 5-second penalty for David Booker when going to the pit lane. Reiner stays out still without the front wing. Booker is in the pit lane. Błaszczyszyn is now to 7th, Ferraz to 6th, so that's interesting, because the gap between these two will now drop from 11 to 9 points, and every point counts in this fight for the championship. Booker is now leaving the pit lane, and I believe it's going to be on position number 11, just behind Raimund Gertzma, his teammate, also involved in the championship fight. Everyone takes every single corner so carefully. Konopa is already out of the session, but we're not doing lobby restarts now because of one disconnection. It's too late for it, unfortunately. If it wasn't qualifying, fine, as we did restart after the qualifying, but not in the race. Błaszczyszyn is kind of close to Rafael, but he cannot even consider a move at any point. But now he's closer than ever. You can see he's got a good entry into turn 10 to happen. Now he's just behind the McLaren, and we'll see if he can capitalize on it. He's going to look for a space on the inside. He's going to take the Wall of Champions corner carefully, just like everyone else. Rafael has also done it carefully, but I think he's gone for it a little bit more than the Aston Martin, just keeping the gap for possibly another lap. Błaszczyszyn trying to fight, trying to save the car on the road, as Morten Schulze, who's got a drive-through penalty, is on the P13, so I didn't realize that. Matthew Curtis, does he look like regaining on Rasmussen at least? And that would mean that the Inters are getting better and better in these conditions. I think there's something in it, but Rasmussen himself is losing quite a lot of time to the rest of the field. I believe he might also have no front wing, so we'll see about that one. But we don't want to see Woodford, we want to see Rasmussen. He's got no damage though. Jakob Klappa, meanwhile, peacefully leading the way. He's got only his second race in PCF1, I believe. Yes, it is just his second. He's been second at Imola too. And in the second race, he might go for a victory, as he's definitely gone for first pole position. He has this additional point, but he needs to bring it home by crossing the finish line 35 times, or even 34 or 33 in this race. Ferraz gets a 3-second time penalty. Washtishin as well. So, even though Ferraz got a little bit of disadvantage and a moment here as well, in the long term, they're on the same spot. Washtishin did not avoid a mistake himself. There's yellow flag in sector on the main straight. Ferraz slides the car heavily. Washtishin needs to at least think about the move. Klappa, meanwhile, gets a 3-second time penalty as well, which might be quite a game changer when it comes to the victory. We love this camera shot, but it doesn't show anything when it comes to the fight with Ferraz. As Rasmussen is out of the race, and that is on track. That calls out a full safety car. First one for today, and I think this is the time to pit for inter tires, but Rafael Ferraz decides to stay out. Washtishin will go in. Reiner uses it to repair his front wing. Also very interesting from the game to think a couple of times before showing us Washtishin going to the pit lane. Very quick pit stop, 2.2 seconds from the Aston Martin pit crew. And he's also ahead of Karen Reiner, but Reiner has been into the pit lane to also change the front wing. Reiner is also going on in the inters, as Martins gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings during the safety car. Which drivers can now go past. Also, I forgot to turn off the... No, I did not even make the poll on the chat who's going to win today, but we can talk about PCF1, because the situation has gone pretty interesting. Owen Heinen getting into the top 10 on the championship is one thing, but we did not expect him to do it after the disaster of the beginning of the season he had with 3 DNFs. He's got into the 10th of the championship now with 28 points, so the fight between him, Ducros, Voss and Wojciech Prox is indeed going to be interesting. But I'm more looking at the championship. Why? Heinriche, after DNF at Spa, is leading Erwin Kurten by a singular point. Got 6 races to go. I wish it was the season finale. Gertzman gets a 5-second penalty for spinning in the pit lane meanwhile. But the gap between the Red Bulls and the rest of the field means I think there's a chance for Red Bull to win the Constructors' Championship next week. It's 227 points of the gap. And of course discussing PCF1, if anyone's wondering. As we've got more penalties for multiple warnings. That one belongs to Woodford. As Mercedes, who are second in the Constructors, if they scored a 1-2 every single race and Red Bull did not score any points, they would win the Constructors' Championship. But if we, for example, add just a podium and a 4th place for Red Bull, that wouldn't be enough. But if Red Bull won a race and got third, that would be 30 points. So best case scenario is 18 and 12 for Mercedes, and that would still not be it. So if Red Bull essentially scores a 1-2 next on Sunday, they've got it. So Red Bull needs a 1-2 next Sunday to win the Constructors' Championship this early. I definitely need to think of a graph, as We've got more drivers spinning in the pit lane. That's Morten Schulze, one of those. We've got 4, 6, 8 drivers with no penalties on the grid now, out of 17 who started the race. Herbert, another one with the 3-second time penalty. I'm not even counting that. And the one who's leading the race now is Benny Besic, but these are definitely interconditions. And this helps out. Not Paul Palacios, because he's not coming to the pit lane. It's going to help out Jakub Klappa. Karol Konopka, meanwhile. Well, Paul Palacios thinks of overtaking him, but it's not allowed under any circumstances. And unfortunately, Michael Massey will not come in and say these drivers now unlap themselves. So not the best situation for Konopka, who's done it. I hope that was one-off issue, as we've got also PS F4 stream on. As there is Benny Besic actually going to the pits. Benny Besic is actually going to the pits, using the safety car to go into the pit lane and change tires to Inters. And Paul Palacios, guess what? He stays out. As I'm wondering now if Karol Konopka will try to yeah, he's trying to overtake the safety car just the same as he did in Austria. And we'll see if this actually pays out. 5-second time penalty for spinning in the pit lane for Woodford. Karol Konopka may now actually unlap himself. He's actually gone for it. He's done it this time. Using Benny Besic, being incredibly lucky that Benny Besic has gone into the pit lane. Karol Konopka will now race again on the same lap as everyone else. That's amazing news for the Red Bull. As Karol is also going to cut the corner massively after missing the braking point clearly. But it's a success. And probably one more lap behind Bernd Maylander. Whereas Benny Besic, he's on the position number 7, so he did not lose a lot. He's lost positions, he's lost the track position, but he did not lose the sight of Jakub Klappa. He's still seeing him on the restart, as we've got safety car in this lap. Paul Palacios on the wet tires. We'll have to watch out for Jakub Klappa trying to be alongside him, which is unfortunately forbidden by the rules. But he's not going for it permanently. We've got also chaos of Herbert v Melling. On the restart, Herbert has to go ahead, I believe. The safety car is in this lap. I wonder if Benjamin Woodford will catch the rest of the field. I think he should be close. Not close enough to get into racing. Or maybe he will. Karol Konopka gets a 3-second. He spins round when unlapping himself, as the safety car is officially in. And we are racing again here in Canada, in Montreal, as Paul Palacios leads the way ahead of Jakub Klappa, who will try to think of a move as soon as possible, as he needs to get away from Benny Besic, the main one in contention for win, apart from the Alpine driver, new full-time Alpine driver by the way, as Samuel Chaborov is a reserve now. Klappa though decides to stay behind Palacios at the very moment. He's still cautious on these inters, but he's got a big gap between him and Ferraz, so that's what's helping him massively. There's only 4 drivers on the grid without a time penalty on the meantime. These are Gertzma, Curtis, Booker, Besic. Oh, and I forgot the 5th, Palacios. Błaszczyszyn now fights Reiner. The Xbox drivers are now going side by side. And Błaszczyszyn will lose a couple of places after that, as he's also been overtaken by Wrona and Besic. Jakub Klappa has gone into the lead of the race. There's a huge dive from Tomasz Wrona, but he missed it massively and he drops to the 5th, where he was before he was trying to make a move. And Besic is watching all of it. Klappa, meanwhile, gets the fastest lap of the race safely. And I imagine that he will go away from the rest of the field, let them fight, and he will be safe when it comes to the race win. Klappa peacefully leads the way, so we'll go to the fight for the third place, where Karen Reiner tries to fight Rafael Ferraz for position number 3. He's very close to the Portuguese in McLaren. But he's not close enough to make a move. As there's yellow flags in sector 3. That is Palacios! That is Palacios who spun around! And he will lose a couple of places, and now will definitely... He's going to lose a lot of places, he's going to be out of points at this point. He's still ninth though, he should be ninth at the end of the straight, but after the spin, he's letting all of the drivers on the Inters past. Also there's a fight for position number 10 between Schulze and Herbert. Linus Schulze's PSF 4 champion, by the way. Brother is now got past Claudio Herbert and is now into 9th place. Karol Konopka has disconnected from the session. Benjamin Woodford is gambling on the medium tires. And if it was a good idea, then you've been verified by this particular hairpin. As Karen Reiner is out of the race as well. After a huge spin, we just got into it. Calling out the second safety car of the race. Huge crash on the AlphaTauri. And now Klappa's entire advantage has gone into pieces. He's been leading by around 10 seconds now. Palacios gets a driver penalty as well, so more disaster for the driver who's just spun around on the wet tires. And I'm wondering when it's going to dry up. As Konopka's ghost actually goes through, not into the pit lane. And now it's the proof that Jakub Klappa has to stay behind the safety car. If it was virtual, that could be fine, but it's not. And now his 10 seconds of advantage has gone completely because of Karen Reiner's big crash in turn 6, I believe that is. 7, 8, 9, 10, 6, 5, turn 5. I'm not into corners. I just have the indicator on the right bottom side of the screen. As PSF 4 meanwhile has a full sun conditions. Nearly everyone has just joined the safety car queue, and that includes Raymond Gertzman, and we have 2 Alfa Romeos. Paul Palacios unfortunately has to wait for the safety car to come in to actually save his driver penalty. But at least let's Matthew Curtis free to fight for the points after nearly missing the race. He's just got into the car during the restart. Karol Konopa, meanwhile, has to join the field as soon as possible. This time he won't be lapped unless he pits. As Woodford goes to the pit lane, definitely speeds up by quite a big margin. He cannot save it now. He has to go for the inter-tire, so the gambling to go on mediums for whatever reason did not work at all. Now Karol Konopa is disconnected again. So I hope Woodford will go ahead of him after his pit stop, and it should be a thing. He crosses the pit lane exit line massively. The safety car will not come in this lap, it will come in next lap. So we're probably watching Benjamin Woodford trying to catch up to the rest of the field after pitting for mediums on completely wet conditions. He's going for it though. As Benjamin Woodford is about half a minute behind the rest of the field. But he doesn't have to control his speed. He can just go with the best he got in order to close up to the grid and actually he's going to do it. He's actually going to close the gap. He's actually going to join the queue. Not sure about Konopa's ghost, or actually Konopa himself now. Woodford goes very, very close to the barriers on turn 4. And I believe that the safety car will be in this lap, regardless of Konopa and Woodford. Who's going to make it though? He was having a call like that already in the previous safety car restart, but now he's having a chance to prove that it wasn't an accident. He actually can close the big gap when it's the restart of the race. As you can see, Benjamin Woodford, he's going to make it way earlier than before. Now looking at the standings, it's Klapa, Ferraz, Vrona in the top 3. Then we've got Benjamin Besic, Kamil Błaszczyszyn, David Booker, Hauke Melling, Morten Schulze, Claudio Herbert and Rodrigo Martins in the top 10. As that was very close from Benjamin Woodford to crash into Matthew Curtis. Gertzbach, Palace, Curtis, Woodford, Konopa are out of the points. Jakub Klapa starts now, and that is the restart for Pc F4 Canadian Grand Prix for the second time. As Klapa peacefully leads the way ahead of Rafael Ferraz. Tomasz Vrona for the move. Melling is actually making a move on David Booker for position number 6. We've also seen a couple of position changes as Raymond Gertzmark goes ahead, just ahead of Pau Palacios. It's also going to be overtaken by Benjamin Woodford and Matthew Curtis as well. We know he's got the driver penalty, but I don't think he intended to give the places. Matthew Curtis cuts the corner massively to get ahead of Benjamin Woodford. I don't know if it's overtaking of track, as Ferraz and Vrona and Besic are also fighting. Ferraz defends his second place very well indeed. And there is a big train starting from second to like ninth, as Melling actually goes ahead of Błaszczyszyn. He's making up places to close up to his teammate and championship rival of sorts as well. There's also an Alfa Romeo making a move on Gertzma. That is Curtis, who's done it. Maybe even forced Gertzma off track. But he's gone for a move and completed it. Besic, meanwhile, very close to Vrona. We'll see if he will think of a move. He definitely gets a 3-second time penalty. Two hazards are no will to will, by the way. as it's Besic letting past Melling for whatever reason. Melling has more penalties, so he might need to push in order not to lose these places. It's nice teamwork from the Hasses. Vrona now is fighting Melling. He has not only to think about attacking Ferraz, who's gone wide yet again. He might need to change his braking point into turns 6 and 7. Melling now is side by side with Ferraz into turn 8. And the Haas driver is about to make a move on the McLaren. He's done it. Maybe forced him a little bit, but that's how racing now. As Melling has gone ahead of Ferraz. Also, Vrona has gone ahead of Ferraz. Ferraz is now watching probably Vrona trying to make a move. And that was huge from Benjamin Besic. Because also losing a bit of his front wing. There's 3 cars being spun around at once. And Vrona is out of the race. One of the Mercedes is also spinning around, calling out the 3rd safety car. What just happened there? I'm actually confused. Benny Besic with 10-second time penalty, 3 penalty points. I can already tell you that. Ferraz goes to the pit lane. Do I think what I think? It's a wing change. It's a wing change, not the wheel change. So he's still on inter tires. But it's not the dream scenario. Also, Pau Palacios will not serve the drive-through penalty now. Everyone is in the pit lane. I wonder if anyone goes for stick tires. Karol Konopa does. Who's also gone again. More and more drivers are on mediums, hoping it will dry up before the safety car will go in. Bernd Melander already having Jakub Klappa right behind him. And Hauke Melling. These two have decided not to go to the pit lane just yet. But that was one of the biggest dives Benny Besic could ever think of. Also, the freeway crash between Ferraz, Besic, and Vrona, calling also Vrona out of the race, makes us look at the standings of today's race, and they're actually pretty interesting with Palaces and Curtis going for a 4-5, but we also have to consider Palaces having a drive-through penalty. And we also have to consider there's Woodford and Booker, who are not in the championship fight, 6th and 7th, so... already got first cars in the queue. Benjamin Woodford is in the pit lane, so I believe he's serving a 5-second time penalty, and he's also gone for mediums. So he's actually taking a gamble now. But this time, it actually may pay off considering how many... It's not. He's out of the session. Hoping he'll come back shortly. Raymond Gertzman has no front wing. Disaster race for the Williams. As he's now going to the pit lane. He did not exceed the speed limit. Gertzman 5 seconds. Konopa is out of the session again. Gertzman has actually got 5-second time penalty for speeding and also a drive-through. This race is actually crazy. Herbert and Besic will probably join the queue soon after a couple of corners. It's not raining anymore, so I think it's time to pit. Guess who's going to lead the race though? It's going to be David Booker. After everyone makes the pit stop. Of course, considering those who are now on the Inters. So David Booker is going to have a 3 places of advantage out of Benjamin Woodford, who's still not in the session. Then we've got Claudio Herbert, also Klappa, Melling, Palacios. Martin stays out. He's going to lead the Grand Prix for at least 1 lap. Very interesting. Ferraz and Schutzer have also decided that it's not dry enough yet. But I think it definitely is dry enough to go for the slicks. Konopa is back into the session. How about Woodford, I'm wondering? As we've also seen Jakub Klappa going on softs. Raimund Gertzma, are you having another drive-through? You are not. Are you joking? He's serving a 5-second time penalty, definitely, for spinning in the pit lane. Now he's changing the tires to another set of mediums. Now safety car is in this lap, so he will not manage to rejoin the queue. Karol Konopa will though. Is he going to actually score points now? As there might have been a contact between Boshishin and Curtis. Rodrigo Martins is going to lead this restart now. On the inter tires under completely dry conditions. It's dry enough for slicks, and he's going into the pit lane to change tires, same up as one of the Aston Martins, that's Morten Schulze. And now this will let David Booker lead the Grand Prix. Everyone else waits for Benjamin Woodford's AI, as Palacios has been disqualified from the race for ignoring driver penalty. I don't think the disqualification is fair. He can appeal it, and he will finish on the last place classified. That's what the rules, as far as I'm aware, say. Woodford is back into the session. Too late for a little bit, but okay, it still counts. It's David Booker, still very careful though, but he's got Ferraz on his back. As David Booker leading the race, no penalties. Herbert now fights Besic. Besic is under pressure of getting a penalty for this big dive on Vrona though. There's a free wide between these three drivers. Klappa is ahead of Herbert. Now Besic will try fight. Will have to defend from Klappa. Gets a 5-second penalty for crossing the white line on the pit lane exit. As now Klappa forces Besic off track, but makes the move stick. It's very hard to give enough space in this corner, so that's justified. Melling is also getting ahead of Herbert. Klappa Curtis getting physical penalty. David Booker, the only driver to not have a penalty, is actually having a chance to win. But we'll see, because Klappa looks very quick today. He's using all the power he has. And now he's going for a lunge down the inside on Booker, and that was a bit too optimistic. From Jakub Klappa, who spun round. He rejoins the track though. But it's going to be 7th place only for him. Meanwhile, the Hasses are now fighting Booker. Now Belling is side by side with Booker. So that's not the end of the pressure for the Williams driver. He's using all of the ERS he has. Benny Besic has no ERS. Melling has got a little bit more ERS, and that will definitely help him. They are now side by side into the Wall of Champions. And now Melling forces his way through. Besic may also use it to get ahead of Booker. Still winning the race though. Booker is now definitely over a second behind. The Williams on the minimap is Raimund Gertzma, who's trying all he can not to get lapped, and probably hoping for Booker to at least fight Besic, but Besic gives it no! Oh, there's a huge crash between him and Booker. He's got no front wing at all. It causes out another virtual safety car. Herbert is using all of this chaos to get to 3rd place. Now he's dropped to 4th. I don't know what's going on here, but it's probably because of the deltas. Herbert actually goes off track to give a couple of places. Now he's back on the P7, so he did not get any use from the carnage. David, there's also more chaos in the background. Now it's Herbert trying to give places again. Now Klappa, now Herbert. Gertzma gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. We love this chaos of PC F4, don't we? And also Karol Konopa, not to mention, he's disconnected again. He keeps... Oh, he's not. But he needs to do something with his internet connection, as it was fine the last couple of races, but it's back probably. He's out of the session again. Still got the virtual safety car, but I believe we'll go racing soon. Hauke Melling about to lap Raimund Gertzma, who's got another 3-second time penalty. With a single lap, and now Melling cannot make a move on him. Otherwise he'll face a penalty. DRS is enabled though. So I wonder if if Gertzma will try to help Melling not Melling, Booker at any point, in order to give them the victory in these last couple of laps. If he cannot win the race himself, he'll let the teammate do it, as Benjamin Woodford is spun on the soft. I wonder how many times the standings will change. As Raimund Gertzma now lets past Hauke, I think he's got another warning in that one. Every single driver but David Booker has already got some sort of time penalty. Booker and Melling are on the same straight, but I don't think he's got a big chance to win now, David Booker. He's still settling up for a 2nd place, definitely, because he's got Matthew Curtis around more than a second behind him. And with a time penalty. And though we also have to mention Jakub Klappa, who after a spin and dropping all the way to 9th, is now 4th, using all this chaos that happened to get as high as he can. Maybe even go... maybe try even going for the 3rd places. Curtis gets another 3-second time penalty. This also opens up a way bigger chance for Booker to win in Canada. Not to win, but to get at least a podium in Canada. Morten Schulze with the fastest up of the Grand Prix. As he's got no ERS, so I'm just wondering, I'm just calculating if at any point any of the drivers will have tires to attack, ERS to attack. I don't think Jakub Klappa will finish on the podium, because one, he's on the softs. Even though he's doing a fast lap now, he's also got the pole position, so he's at least having 2 points if he finishes. As of now, he's definitely having 1. I don't think he's going to finish because of the tires he's got, and these are softs. Now if you can watch the tire menu, it's Klappa on 6 laps old soft, so it would be bigger of a miracle if he survives rather than he attacks Curtis. Konopa is back into the session. He has to finish the race himself in order to get points. Knowing the history of this race for him, that won't be quite simple. Ferraz will probably make a move on him quite soon. Actually, his Ghost. That should be a thing. That should be a matter of time. Konopa is back to the racing. But it's still AI now. Probably he's taking control. Not quite. Probably now. But it's still a chance for Ferraz. Yep, that's definitely Konopa driving, who's going quite as well in the Wall of Champions. Rafael Ferraz makes a clear move for position number 6. Also, the gap between Booker and Melling is around 4.6 seconds. It's still enough for Booker to win today. And that would be his first Ero win, I believe, in the entire career. So there's a hype in the Williams, even though Geretsman is having far from ideal race. David Booker, who's been on podium once this season, he was second in Australia, now actually has a chance to claim a victory in Canada. Well, let's see how the gap updates, because it's between 2.3 and 6.3 seconds, so I believe it will be over near 5 seconds. Yes, it is going to be 5 seconds. Meanwhile, Jakub Klappa has made a move on Curtis. His next target is going to be Booker, and I think, just think, that Gertzman might think of trying to help by giving the RS to Booker, who's also got a 3-second time penalty. This is over for him now. It's over when it comes to the victory. Jakub Klappa goes for a move on the outside into turn 1. And that will be a move. A very fine move. Not quite though, because you can see that Booker is actually fighting it. Now he's backing out. But he was actually fighting it into turn 4. Besic and Ferras have both gone past Konopa. Błaszczykyn is going on the ninth. As Konopa has left the session again, we've got yellow flags in Sector 3. That is Benjamin Woodford. And we can say it again. As we've got Claudio Herbert kind of close to Matthew Curtis now, looking for any sort of action, and we've got the action because Jakub Klappa has spun round. And now I'm wondering, these tires are 9 laps old, so was there a puncture for the Polish driver? It doesn't look like so, but he's definitely going slowly through the corners, so he's more cautious now. But that is a big trouble for the Alpine, who was going for a win today. As now everyone has a time penalty, by the way. Klappa goes to the pits. New softs probably. And he's going to try to recover as much as he can from this race. He's going to be no lower than 10th after coming out of the pit lane. He's also got broken wing, so we'll move to the action for position number 3, where Matthew Curtis has to defend his 3rd place on track, because it's still more penalties for him. But he has to defend it at the end of this Grand Prix, at least on track. Claudio Herbert will now go for a move on the inside, and that was quick. That was actually quick from Claudio Herbert. Not quite, he was still side by side with Matthew Curtis, but now he's completed the move. His next target is David Booker, who's now going to at most equal his best place of Ero career. 2nd in Australia, to be exact, as I said before. Curtis gets another 3-second time penalty on the meantime. It's 9 in total for the Alfa Romeo driver. He might be even behind Ferras. Not behind Besic, but definitely behind Ferras in the standings now. After today's Grand Prix. Herbert still chasing down Booker, but I think he cut the corner massively here. We've got a spin! We've got the DNF! That is Farah spinning around and crashing out on the penultimate lap of the race. Losing his 6th place at least, or even 5th. He had the potential for position number 5 in this race. But it wasn't the day. On the final laps, Konopa also with this rate, with this amount of issues. Morten Schulze gets the fastest lap, but Karol Konopa, well, he's not going to be counted into the standings. Rodrigo Martins, who's about to be lapped, he's already lapped by Hauke Melling, is going to get a point today because his teammate will not finish the Grand Prix. Woodford spins again on the turn 10. Definitely least favorite corner for him. He retires from the session. He's out of the race as well. So we're going to finish this in 11. Raimund Gertzmann, if he's quite lucky, he might even think of scoring points today. But he needs someone from top 10 to crash out. Gertzmann also gets a fastest lap. Gertzmann is actually going to finish 10th if Konopa doesn't join the lobby back. With this many issues. Klappa gets the fastest lap by half a second. He's actually going quickly relatively to what we saw today. And is he going to even chase down Błaszczyszyn? I don't think so, there's no chance. But he might go for even fastest lap. He's 4 tenths up on his lap time already. Remember how we were hyping Owen when he was finishing a lap in Abu Dhabi in social race. But maybe let's go for a moment to Hauke Melling, who's won the Canadian Grand Prix in Ero Pc F4. As David Booker will finish on the 2nd place, equaling his best result. Then we've got Claudio Herbert, Matthew Curtis, and Benjamin Besic. I think he's going to be under investigation for a couple of incidents. As I'm going to check, Jakub Klappa, did you actually spin round? He did. And now the ultimate moment of verification, is Konopa in? He is not. So regardless, Klappa 7th. I think that's it for Canadian Grand Prix. We are just waiting for Morten Schulze to cross the line now. The final lap of this race. Hauke Melling with a win. Another one for Haas. So yeah, that's it for today. We'll see the race results. We also watch the podium celebration, as Hauke Melling will definitely have a celebration tonight. A fine win in Canada. Also, that possibly places him at the top of the championship. Let's see, because he's got 25 points. Meanwhile, Benny Besic has got 10. And that's at most. I've written it wrong. 25, 10. The gap is 1 point. Just like at BCF1. So, a quick view of the standings. You shouldn't be surprised with that. Every single driver got a time penalty. And apart from Brian Rasmussen. So, congratulations to Bjorn for being the only driver without a penalty. Pau Palacios, by the way, he has got the driver and been disqualified. Melling, Booker, Herbert, Curtis, Besic, Błaszczyszyn, and watch out, Klappa, Schulze, Martins, Gertzma. This is the top 10. Then we've got Konopa, apparently. Or no, actually, Ferras, Woodford, then Konopa, then Vrona goes Reiner, Rasmussen, and Palacios may appear his DNF and actually be 10th. Or not, because he's the last classified account, so he'll be 14th still. But a fine one to enjoy, just to chill out and watch, and maybe commentate over it. Some action here in Canada. On Sunday, we'll see you in the action of Ero Pc F1 at 4 p.m. UK. As that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, see you on Sunday, as this was probably the only time I was commenting to you. It was fun though. Thank you and goodbye.